Welcome to today's explainer. If you've ever wondered who is really in the driver's seat of your decisions, well, it might not actually be you. Today, we're exploring a fascinating compilation of cognitive biases, mental illusions, and psychological shortcuts titled 15 Psychological Tricks Your Brain Uses Every Day. Now, to fit our time today, we've distilled this down to the absolute most impactful tricks from that list. Because as it turns out, our brains are essentially these brilliant energy-saving machines. They rely heavily on evolutionary shortcuts that were, absolutely great for survival back in the Stone Age, but they definitely tend to glitch out a bit in our modern world.
Okay, let's dive into this. Your brain manipulates your reality more than you realize. That is a powerful truth to start with. Honestly, it's the core hook of this entire topic, and it's incredibly profound. Every single concept we're going to look at today comes right back to this fundamental truth. Your reality, it isn't a direct objective broadcast of the world. No, it's a heavily edited manipulation completely designed by your own mind just to save energy and, frankly, keep you comfortably safe.
To make sense of all this, we've organized our explainer into a 4-step journey. We'll be looking at illusions of the self, how we judge others, shortcuts and flawed choices, and finally, questioning your own mind.
Let's jump right into Section 1, Illusions of the Self, and how we distort our internal perception. So, is everyone actually watching you right now? Think about the last time you, say, spilled a little coffee on your shirt, or tripped slightly on the sidewalk. You probably felt like every single person on the street stopped dead in their tracks and stared at you, right? It's a highly relatable scenario, but it completely exposes our very first mental illusion. This is what's known as the spotlight effect. It's a psychological trick where you genuinely believe you are being noticed by others significantly more than you actually are. When you have that tiny, barely visible stain on your jacket, your brain projects a massive imaginary spotlight right onto yourself. But the reality? Everyone else is way too busy dealing with their own imaginary spotlights to even notice yours. Now, what's really interesting here is when we run into cognitive dissonance. Your brain absolutely hates it when two thoughts clash. Imagine, thought A is, I want to save money, but conflicting thought B is, I really, really want that incredibly expensive iced coffee. When you hold two conflicting beliefs simultaneously like that, your brain awkwardly struggles to resolve that psychological tension. So it panics, and it just invents a convenient justification to make you feel better. Suddenly, buying that $7 coffee is a vital, totally necessary investment in your daily productivity. Boom, problem solved. Moving right along to Section 2, How We Judge Others. Let's look at social perception shortcuts. This leads us straight to the halo effect, which is when one positive trait of a person overly influences our total judgment of their entire character. Honestly, this part completely blew my mind because of just how easily we get fooled. If you meet someone who is exceptionally well-dressed or charming, your brain takes that single characteristic and automatically assumes, oh, they must also be incredibly smart, highly reliable, and morally good. That one positive trait acts like a glowing halo. It completely blinds us to reality, causing us to assign a whole suite of unverified positive qualities to them. And that brings us to confirmation bias. This is where we actively filter reality to only see the evidence that proves we were already right. If you have a pre-existing belief about someone or something, your brain acts like a strict bouncer at an exclusive club. It only lets in facts that perfectly match your belief, and it completely refuses to process opposing information. It is a wildly powerful mental illusion that keeps us comfortably, but entirely artificially, correct. On to Section 3, Shortcuts and Flawed Choices. Let's dig into exactly how our brain makes decisions. Have you ever received, let's say, 10 amazing compliments and just one tiny criticism, and you end up spending the entire week completely obsessing over that one criticism? Yeah, that is your negativity bias in full swing. It's the phenomenon where negative events have a significantly heavier impact on our psychological state than positive ones. Our brains are literally structurally hardwired to fixate on bad news over good news. It's an ancient survival trick. Noticing the one dangerous predator was infinitely more important than noticing 10 pretty flowers, right? But in modern everyday life, it heavily and unfairly skews our psychological state. And then, when faced with a familiar choice versus an unknown choice, we experience the mere exposure effect. Our brain has an automatic preference for things simply because we have been exposed to them before. Even if the unknown choice is objectively better, your brain just defaults to the shortcut of familiarity. It just feels safer. So you choose it again and again simply because you've seen it before.
So the crucial point here is how this works with first impressions. Think about the number 1. In psychology, the very first number or initial piece of information you receive acts as a heavy anchor that radically skews every single decision that follows. We call this the anchoring bias. If you walk into a store and the very first item you see costs $1,000, suddenly the $100 item right next to it seems like this incredibly reasonable bargain. Your brain was anchored by that very first input, completely tricking your sense of actual value.
So when you stack up the negativity bias, the mere exposure effect, anchoring, and then you add in the recency effect, which is our tendency to heavily favor the absolute latest, most recent information we've consumed over older, more reliable data, you can see exactly how our daily choices are secretly manipulated. All these specific, flawed processing shortcuts work together to completely alter how we navigate reality. Which brings us to our final stop, Section 4, Questioning Your Own Mind. How to live with a manipulated reality. If your reality is manipulated, what will you choose to question today? We've seen that from the spotlight effect right through to confirmation bias. Our brains are constantly shaping the world to fit a convenient, pre-written narrative. But look, understanding these tricks isn't about feeling powerless, not at all. It's about gaining clarity. The next time you judge someone quickly, or fixate on a negative comment, or cling to an early assumption, just pause. Try to catch your brain in the act and take back control of your own perception. Keep questioning, keep learning, and see if you can spot these illusions happening in your own life today.